The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Everybody's Perch, sex appeal in comic books. Yeah, that's a kind of a weird aspect, because I think this is one of those cases where the solution is in front of everybody's face. Comic book superheroes are often idealized human beings, whether they're men, whether they're women. What's funny is, even when comics try and represent a female character that is not your traditional, cookie cutter Barbie-like figure and everything else, the character's physique, everything else, is still pretty idealized. There are very few kind of plain, blah, ugly-looking people in comics. By and large, everyone is idealized. It would horrify the members of, say, the X Office to admit it, but when you look at kind of the like the new, God, what's the new Excalibur book? Knights of X? Is that what it is? If you look at Knights of X, there isn't an ugly person in that comic. Everybody is like supermodel level quality, male or female. They're all just ripped men. You can bounce a quarter off that ass. Women, just tits that go that defy gravity. I mean, it's just they're perfect people. And yet, if you went to Teenie Howard and you said, "So, would you like to? How would you comment on your super idealized, perfect, body type comic book?" I imagine that Teenie would look at you extremely confused and then get very, very defensive. I doubt that's what Teenie has in mind, but that is the product that comes out. That's the product you see on the shelves. It is this, superheroes by their nature are super in appearance. They look perfect. There's no fat. There's all muscle. That's what largely comic books is. I mean, look at some of the creators, and you look at kind of people who are, let's just say, not in the best physical condition, and yet the comics they write are not fat sensitive. I mean, that New Warriors, that book that never came out, that got completely derided, and at this point, from what I understand, the creator has kind of walked away from it, but you had that chubbier kind of character. But even the chubbier character is not chubby like what you see if you go into Walmart. Like, there's no Marvel or DC character that's in one of those little rascal scooters, like driving around because they're just obese. There's not a character going, like, nobody is drawn with 3 or 4 chins in comics, unless it is a grotesquely fat supervillain that we're wanting to make fun of. That will do. They've even made the Kingpin look more fit. That's where comics are at. I think this is one of those interesting, I don't know, hypocrite's the wrong word, but it is a very interesting dynamic where the comic creators can talk all they want about representing, people, and everybody should see themselves in the comic. Yeah, well, where's the pasty fat white guy? There's a lot of those in the world. Where's that guy? Where is he in the comics? Where's the woman who's about 50 pounds overweight and had some unfortunate tattoos and piercings? Where's the comic book for her? Does she exist in there? Because, there's a lot of those around here. I understand everything's bigger in Texas, but let me tell you, if you ever want to see a collection of humanity, you go to Disney World in Florida, and the level of rascals driving around that park is off the charts. Anyway, this isn't a fat-shaming video. My point, though, is that we hear a lot about how you should be able to see yourselves in the characters. I mean, we need to see, look, we finally have our first asexual, transgender, Aborigine, comic book superhero. Finally, all those people can see themselves in comics. Now, fortunately, these characters are ridiculously fit and trim. They are doing CrossFit. They are, they're on the Peloton program, and they're no problem. So, as much as we hear people say about all body types are accepted, in comic books, not really. And as much as we say, hey, we're not going to do that, they don't change the body type of these characters. Like, nobody is drawing like Storm gone to seed with an extra 50 pounds on her. Instead, they give costumes that are less revealing. But the characters themselves are still supermodels. By the way, I'm not saying that's wrong. I think the whole nature of idealized escapist fantasy with superheroes is that the people should look like cut models and everything else. I mean, that's why not? But the narrative we've been given for the last several years has been everybody needs to see themselves inside the comic. This is we need to be sensitive to all body types, all everything else, and yet weirdly enough, weight isn't it. Now I know people are in the comic. For what it's worth, for people who have seen me in real life, I'm not Nightwing quality of fit, but I am not blob level quality either. I do go running on a regular basis. I do go to a gym on a regular basis. I'm in decent shape. I wouldn't say perfect shape, but decent shape. But regardless, that sounded like a lot of defensiveness right there. I'm sorry. I've given Mumbles so much material in the last 30 seconds. Anyway, plenty of you have seen me in real life. You know what I look like. Anyway, but I just find it slightly funny that the creators themselves sometimes go to abnormal lengths to identify with different aspects of the characters. There's a creator who's making a lot of noise right now about being pansexual. And it's like, I mean, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I have no idea. But one thing you definitely are 100 pounds overweight. So while you're making the first pansexual character, good for you. Why not, good for the creators of Faith. But why is it that it's important to represent all these different aspects of the characters, but not body type? And by the way, I'm revealing some secrets here. I talked to a writer recently, very, very recently, a very famous writer in comics, and no, not Sean Murphy, not the people who've been interviewed. I have a feeling that Murphy would go on the record and saying it anyway. But no, this isn't him. Somebody hasn't been on an interview. And the writer goes, well, you can't have fat superheroes. No one would buy them. Very casually. They just throw that out there. You can't have overweight superheroes. Nobody would buy that shit. And yet, we're saying that it's very important to us to have a pansexual character. I mean, I'm just looking at the basic demographics out in the world today. Turns out there's a lot more overweight people than pansexuals. So why not the obsession with getting those people represented in the comics? Why can't the next Iron Fist be somebody who weighs like 350 pounds? Why not that? Wouldn't that make sense? Hey, you know what? There's a lot of guys out there who have hair loss, who have got premature balding going on. Do you think we could have can the next Captain America be prematurely balding? I mean, there's a lot of those people. Do those people deserve to be in comics? Why don't those people deserve to be in comics? I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, that seems like it'll make some sense to me, but whatever. If it's true for one thing, why is it not true for the other thing? That's kind of all I'm saying here. I'm still torn by you would have had to be there. It was nobody's going to buy a fat superhero. Oh, don't be crazy. I mean, okay, but when are we getting? I guess when are we getting Marvel voices fat people? Is that coming anytime soon? Because I mean, if you're doing everything else, feels like that's something you should prioritize. By the way, you may think this is a bit. I'm not even joking right now. I mean, if you've listened to this channel long enough, you know my policy is fair is fair. Okay, so I'm willing to sign on to anything, but you got to be consistent. If you're going to apply these rules, they have to go consistently across the board. So if the rules are everybody should be able to see themselves in a comic book, well, it strikes me that you got a bunch of not ideal body type people, and you have a bunch of balding people with screwed up teeth, I don't know, why are very few superheroes have glasses moving around? I mean, are they all wearing contacts? Like, what's going on? There's a bunch of high percentage demographic characters that never seem to get represented, but it is important that we get like how look seriously, how many people in the country identify as pansexual? And I'm not, by the way, do your 4-page anthology story about the pansexual character that we will never see again because you are too much of a coward to actually make it into a regular series. You're just going to do it for, it's okay to do 3 pages in an anthology and then bitch about it on Twitter for the next 5 years, but can't give them a regular series. But I mean, that's got to be like what, pansexuals in the U.S. That's like 0.2% of the population, 0.02%. I have no idea, but I'm guessing it's not much. And yet it's like, no, we can't have fat superheroes. No one would buy that. Can you hear yourselves? I mean, I'm honestly curious now what the percentage of pansexuals is in America. I don't think I should look this up while I'm driving, but you know, I kind of want to. So anyway, so I'm going to unsafely. Number of pansexuals in America. What does it say here according to Google? It says it's not high enough to record a number. What does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not picking on pansexuals. Good for you if you are pansexual. That's all fine. You deserve your representation. I'm just saying, if that group deserves their representation, then it feels like there's some other bigger people, bigger, no pun intended, bigger demographical areas that also deserve it. Oh, here's something else in Google that says pansexual count America is 0.014%. Okay, cool. This is always where somebody comes into the comments going, "Oh, what is this?" Well, whatever. Anyway, fat heroes deserve love too. That's where we're getting. This video is a train wreck. Thanks for listening.